Welcome to my next Lost. Season 2 episode review video. Before I get into that though, pretty important, if you aren't caught up to the point where I am at rewatching or watching Lost, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, you find that you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this detailed review to avoid any potential spoilers. And full disclosure, I've already seen Lost 3 times. The last couple times that I've watched Lost, I've actually binged it. And this time I want to let things resonate, as Lost is one of my favorite shows of all time. In fact, it's in my top 5 of all time. Yes, I love Lost, but I'm not the only one that's rewatching Lost. The legendary Crazy Coffee Man, who you see in the comments section for my videos of Dexter, Breaking Bad, and Lucifer, is actually watching Lost for the first time. So go ahead and join us on the journey and let's discuss this awesome and amazing show. No spoilers past this episode because we don't know quite where Crazy Coffee Man is at the moment. Although I'm sure he's at least 3 or 4 episodes ahead, but no spoilers just in case. So with all that said, this will be Lost. Season 2, Episode 21. The title of this episode is just a question mark symbol. And this will be my review, reaction, recap after just finishing watching the episode. Echo is chopping wood with an axe on the beach, continuing to build his church. Ana Lucia appears on the beach and asks him what he is building. So Ana Lucia is not dead? Echo explains that the idea of the church came from a dream. Ana Lucia responds, a dream like this one? Okay, so Echo is dreaming. Echo then notices she has a bullet hole and is bleeding from her stomach and from her mouth. She tells Echo, you need to help John. Echo's dream travels to the Swan, or the Hatch, whatever you want to call it, where he finds his dead brother Yemi sitting at the computer. Yemi tells Echo that John has lost his way and that Echo needs Locke to take him to the question mark. He also tells him to bring the axe. The room starts to violently shake. The timer has reached the red and black tiles, but now the hieroglyphics are replaced by question marks. The letters on the computer keys have also been replaced by question marks. Echo wakes up hyperventilating, and Charlie, sleeping nearby on the beach, turns over and asks, what's the matter? Locke, Sawyer, Kate, and Jack are moving through the jungle when Michael stumbles out of the hatch, claiming that he had been shot in the arm by a person unknown to him. The group enters the hatch and begins to investigate. Echo appears with his axe and offers his help. Sawyer and Kate discover Ana Lucia slumped on the couch and Libby on the floor, both with gunshot wounds. Kate tells Jack that Ana Lucia is dead. Libby coughs up a mouthful of blood, and Jack rushes to treat her as fear crosses Michael's face. Echo prays over Ana Lucia as Locke looks on. Jack insists that they go after Henry, whom Michael says he left only half an hour earlier. Sawyer insists that Jack remain and tend to Libby's condition. Then we start with our flashback. Mr. Echo, posing as a priest and going by the name of Father Tundi, takes confession from a man who seems to confess to adultery, but reveals that he has an forged Australian passport for Mr. Echo to enter the United States. Another priest tells him that the trip to the U.S. is delayed as a miracle has happened. A woman has claimed that her child drowned in the river, but was resurrected the next day. He informs Mr. Echo that he has been chosen to start an investigation of the claim. After meeting the mother, Mr. Echo tells the Monsignor he is not a good choice because he does not believe the claim. The Monsignor, however, explains that this is exactly why he was chosen. Back on the island, Mr. Echo offers to track down Henry Gale with John Locke as he can track, and they set off. Locke cannot find a trail, but Echo lies that he has found it, so Locke follows him down a random path. John Locke wonders what Echo is following as he realizes that there is really no trail. Locke prepares to head back, but Mr. Echo asks Locke to take him to the question mark, which, when Locke refuses, Echo headbutts John Locke and knocks him out. When John Locke later regains consciousness, he shows Echo the diagram he drew from his memories of the blast door with the question mark in the middle. Echo then tells Locke that they will go to the question mark, stating that Ana Lucia told them in a dream to find it. Locke responds with a look of skepticism. Echo asks him, "Have you ever followed a dream, John?" Then back to our flashback. Echo interviews the medical examiner about the account of the miracle. The examiner informs a skeptical Mr. Echo that the girl came back to life during the autopsy and provides an audio tape as supporting evidence. Later, the two are arguing about symbols on a map that, back to our island stuff, Locke had copied from his memory. Echo steps on a Virgin Mary statue and the two stumble into the burned plane. Mr. Echo asks what made the plane fall, and Locke answers that it was Boone who made it fall and that his death was a sacrifice that the island demanded. They make camp and wait for further instructions. Michael asks if Libby had said anything. Jack says that she is still unconscious and suffering, and that is all he really can do is make her more comfortable. Jack then gives Sawyer a stern look. Sawyer responds by insisting that he already gave him all of the medications. Jack clarifies that he was referring to the heroin. He asks Sawyer to fetch it and that Kate should accompany him so that she knows where Sawyer has hidden the guns. Sawyer agrees and leads Kate back to his tent. Kate learns to her surprise that he hid his belongings in a pit underneath his bed. When they leave the tent, Hurley approaches them and asks if they had seen Libby, and Kate has to tell Hurley the unfortunate bad news. Yemi appears before Echo and directs him to climb the cliff. This isn't a dream. At the top, Yemi, seated in a wheelchair, says, "Wake up, John." And in terror, Echo loses his grip off of the cliff and falls back to the bottom. Locke wakes up from the nightmare. When he describes his dream, Echo tells him that the priest he saw was his brother Yemi. Locke says that Yemi wanted him to follow. He then looks up at the cliff from his dream, and Echo climbs the cliff. Back to our flashback, Echo visits the family who reported this miracle and finds a stare-eyed daughter at the porch. The mother comes out and informs him that that is not an appropriate time for him to visit. The father comes out, orders his wife and child to go back inside, and tells Echo that the whole incident was simply a misunderstanding. He claims that his wife knows that his psychic services are a fraud, that she is a frantic and was making the claim to spite him. Now, is this the same psychic that worked with Claire in season 1? I can't remember, but I think it is. Echo tells him that he will report that the incident was not a miracle. As he leaves, he sees the daughter staring at him from the window. Echo struggles to the top, and Locke calls to him, asking if he has found anything. Echo surveys the islands and landscape, and then replies that he hasn't found anything. But as he looks down at the Locke, he sees a giant question mark shaped into the clearing's undergrowth, and with the plane's tail making the period at the base of the question mark. Echo takes the soil and finds it as it was salted in a pattern of question mark to prevent the growth. Echo then picks the ground with the axe and discovers a hatch buried beneath the plane. They open the hatch and descend. Sawyer, Kate, and now Hurley have made it back to the hatch. Jack now has the heroin. Hurley tells Michael that him and Libby were about to have their first date. Locke finds a working light switch and they enter a room with several tables, one with cigarette debris on it, with adjustable rectangular magnifying lenses, and a series of television monitors. Locke turns them on, and one shows a live surveillance feed from the Swan, where Jack is seen walking past the camera. Locke sees another camera above and also finds a tube which proves to be functional when he inserts his map sketch, and it sucks it up the tube. Locke also finds a computer terminal with a command prompt, print log YN. Locke inputs Y, and a dot matrix printer is heard in the background as it produces the log printout. Echo finds another orientation movie on a U-matic tape. Echo and Locke watch the tape with the orientation again presented by the Man in the Swan orientation tape and learn that the hatch they are in is Station 5, the Pearl. And he goes by a different name this time. The last time it was Martin Candle or something like that. It was different, like Mark something in this one. And he is telling them how to record the subjects perform actions which they believe to be of great importance. Locke is disillusioned about his habit of entering the numbers, thinking it was just an experiment, whereas Echo's belief in its importance is heightened. He explains that they are being tested and that the reason they push the button is not because they are told to do so, but because we believe we are meant to do. John responds in frustration and anger that he was never meant to do anything and that every moment of his pathetic and useless life is as useless as the button. Mr. Echo picks up we're going back to the flashback. Mr. Echo picks up his tickets for the flight while he is at Oceanic Airlines terminal. As he begins to walk away from the ticket desk, the girl who supposedly drowned confronts him. She informs Echo that his brother Yemi contacted her when she was between places. She then says she knows that Echo's not really a priest, but he should have faith in himself anyway, as Yemi still does. Echo begins to angrily question the girl as to how she knows about Yemi, but Libby overhears him and asks them if everything is all right. Echo shrugs it off and leaves. Echo explains his responsibility for his brother's death to Locke, how Echo's plane crashed on the island, and how this island he has found the plane which he took off from Nigeria, and here he found his brother and put around his neck the same cross he wore the first day he took another man's life. So he asks Locke how he can say that this is meaningless and that he thinks the work being done in the hatch is more important than anything, and that if Locke won't push the button, then he will. Echo takes the log printout and with him as they depart. And then back at the hatch, Jack gives Libby the heroin. Hurley says his goodbyes and tells her how sorry he is for having forgotten the blankets. Libby's last word is Michael, which Jack misinterprets as a sign of concern for Michael. When Jack reassures Libby that Michael is fine, she appears frightened, and then Libby does die. While Sawyer hugs a tearful Kate, Locke and Echo make their way back to the camp. Michael is sitting in the gun vault, looking sullenly down at the floor, and looks up at as the alarm has been beeping. And that's what ends this episode of Lost. So I'm going to score this one an 8.5 out of 10. My characters of the episode are going to be Mr. Echo and John Locke. I think that's pretty across the board. And that's everything that I have to say. So now it's your turn. If you're a fan of Lost and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please consider Hulk smashing the like button, share the video with a friend, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section, interact with me and the legendary Crazy Coffee Man. What is your score for this episode, and whom are your favorite characters of the episode? And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. You're watching the video anyway. Subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special, and you never know where you're going to see on JDAV TV.